Good morning, Wildcats. First, I just want to compliment you on the wonderful job you did on our Google Meet with Kirby Larson last Friday. I was very impressed with your questions, your behavior, your composure, so thank you for that. And your thank you letters to her have been lovely. I've been reading those this weekend as they've been coming in, and you've done a really nice job with those, so I'm really proud of you. I also enjoyed reading your anticipation guides for The Giver and the things that you would want in your utopia and what you wouldn't want in your utopia and looking at those answers. Today we are actually going to start reading The Giver, and we are going to be reading chapter 1. And I just want to remind you that the first chapter of any book, or if you're reading a short story, the first page or so of that is what we call the exposition. And that is where you are getting introduced to the characters and the setting. You may get a hint at the conflict, which in chapter 1 you'll get a tiny little hint about the conflict, but I'm not going to really ask you much about that because we need to read a little bit further to know more about that conflict and to understand that. So you're going to see a little bit of it. So today the activity I have for you is going to focus on the characters and getting to know them so that you can ground yourself and understand what the story is going to be about, as well as the setting. So you're going to see both of those things. So here is the assignment that you have today to do. And at the top, you're going to put your name as usual. As usual, it's worth 20 points for our daily reading activities. And 7 points of that is for the characters and 13 points for setting. So this character chart, you are going to fill the chart with explicit character traits for each character. Please remember again that these are traits the author tells you. So you should actually be able to pick up the book, take your finger or a pencil and point to that word or phrase that describes the character. You are not inferring or guessing those, okay? You should actually be able to find them on the page in the author's writing. So your main character is going to be Jonas. And by the way, there are more than 3 traits for each of these characters, but I limited it to make sure that you're kind of focusing on the big ones. So look for who they are, how they feel, okay, titles they're given, that sort of thing. Lily, mother and father. So you're going to have these characters that you want to look for in the book, in the first chapter. And again, there's going to be way more than 3 or 2 for some of these characters, but I want you to limit it to that. And we're looking for explicit again, what the author tells you, not what you're guessing. For setting, okay, so we talked last week about a utopia, and utopia is a place that is intended to be perfect. And Jonas' society does many things differently than our society in the United States does. So when you are reading about the setting, remember that setting is not just about the place. So I'm not asking you to write down where Jonas lives. That's not what I want. Okay? What I want you to think about is how is his way of life different than our way of life? Because part of setting is knowing the context of how the character lives. So for example, in Hattie Big Sky, yes, she lived in Montana, but that's not the only portion of the setting. Setting also included for her the historical context. So things like she didn't have electricity. She didn't have indoor plumbing, so she had an outhouse, had to go outside to go to the bathroom. She had a well where she had to pump water, again, because they didn't have running water. So, and there are so many other things that we could talk about that were different. So setting includes that context in which they're living to, not just the place. So I don't want you to focus on place for this activity. I want you to focus about what is different from Jonas' society than our society. What do they do that we don't do? Okay, please use complete sentences for this part. For the characteristics of above, you don't have to do that. For this part, I do want you to use complete sentences. And I have provided your first example. So on page 1, I learned that pilots are not allowed to fly over the community. This will be in the book. Okay? This part, you're going to have to use your brain for. So why would they make a rule like that? So when I was thinking about that, I thought it might be for a couple reasons. So I thought it might be because they don't want planes to crash into their community. If a plane is not allowed to fly over your community, it can't crash into your community. I also thought it might be a way to protect themselves from aerial attacks, like during warfare. So if there are no planes that are allowed to fly over, it would prevent attacks. Now, I'm not really sure how they prevent planes from flying over. It doesn't seem like they have a foolproof way for doing that when I read page 1, but that might be one of the reasons they decided to do that too. So you're going to pick 5 more things that are different. And by the way, I found over 10 things that are different from Jonas' society and ours in chapter 1. So this should be easy. You're going to list what's different, and then you're going to give me a reason why you think they did that. So why did they have that rule? Or why did they do that ritual? Sometimes they call them a ritual that they have. And then they're going to talk about something called release. And so I want you to think about those 3 reasons. So, and actually, you don't have to think about them really, you just have to find them. So, the 3 reasons are listed throughout the chapter. So, there are 3 reasons why people can be released from the community. So, you want to find those 1, 2, and 3, and you want to write them there. All right, so that's your activity for today. And just a reminder, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Please feel free to get on Google Meet and ask me. If you don't want your face to be on the camera, you don't want me to see you, just turn your camera off. That's fine. Okay. As long as you can hear me, that's fine too. If you don't have a microphone that you can ask me questions through Google Meet, you could type them in the comments on Google Meet, or you can send me an email instead of getting on Google Meet. But don't be afraid to ask questions if you have them. I'm always here to help you and help you to answer those. So if you get stuck, ask me. I will guide you in the right direction. All right, I hope you have a lovely day. I know it's cold out, so hopefully we'll get some warmer weather here soon. And I hope you enjoy reading the first chapter of The Giver. I think you will find it very interesting because they do many different things than we do. And you might be thinking, why do they do that? I thought this was supposed to be a utopia. What's perfect about that? So I hope it sparks a lot of questions for you today and gets your brain thinking. All right, have a good one. I will see you tomorrow.